into this one. It's time to pass it over to Humanist and Dowsy.
Well, that's right, Munchables didn't mess up there. It's myself and Dowsy coming in for his first VG8 color cast. I'm incredibly excited, but we have an amazing matchup. C9 versus TSM and some fun drafts. Dowsy, let's break it down. How are you feeling about it?
It's El Clasico in North America right now. TSM obviously looking for that world spot. Cloud9 could upset that dream, and the drafting. Very, very interesting stuff going on as well, as we actually see this Treant started up by Cloud9, but look at Best Chuck sneaking into the backs, looking to attempt to steal some away. He's able to get that gold.
Flash stole the Elder Treant with the sigil there. Just a monstrous play.
Disastrous start for Cloud9. Not only do they get that Treant that they committed 3 men to, they miss out on their backs as well. So I love Joseph, who's on this fortress, going to be more like a utility jungler than a damage jungler. He's going to actually suffer very early, and Alpha very able to jump into the jungle and just bully I love Joseph. So I'm considering FlashX and Vonsi going to be looking to really turn up the heat onto Joseph, but it all depends on how I Love Joseph decides to play. He's currently in the lane, may look for a gank, it all depends on Best Chuck's positioning.
He's waiting, he's gonna mark Chuck. Chuck just gonna use the boots and move back there. Chuck able to have those boots because of that early rotation, so already paying dividends.
Now Vonsi making that move into the jungle. Joseph should be okay here, and Vonsi's just going to say hi.
It's all about the rotation. Sigils goes down. Vonsi, he's going to look to move in on to Joseph, potentially. Core charge onto Gabe Vizzle. Old school did drop down. A little on-point love there. Joseph, he used the Healing Blast Prime Directive for it, though. They're going to trade this one out. Vonsi, he has that infinite reboot, though, so a little bit more wiggle room for himself. With everybody rotating, look at that Glimmer stopping Joseph's recall back there. Chuck, threatening already.
Look at how many camps I Love Joseph has. 1. He has 1 CS. That is the forward Treant that he secured earlier on. This is another back rotation going over to TSM. The early game is theirs. They have completely dominated Cloud9 so far in this early game, and this is really going to hurt the game plan of Cloud9. You can see they've drafted this very aggressive dive composition with the Fortress, the Arden, and the Black Feather. Their aim is to get on top of Best Chuck's Kestrel and delete her from the Halcyon Fold. However, you were saying intelligent drafting coming out of TSM, you know, picking that Kestrel and that Alpha before knowing what the composition was, allowed them to get that Lyra last pick. And that Bright Bulwark, if positioned correctly by FlashX, can literally shut down the entirety of Cloud9's dives. So great importance on FlashX to really hit those Bright Bulwarks when they need to be hit.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the importance of the Bright Bulwark coming down at a nice timing in these fights to kind of stop engagements and movement abilities, but how big of a deal is it if that goes down preemptively and it doesn't stop them? Like, that was a false engage, you know, or if it comes down a little too late, is that a huge impact?
You'd have to think that it's certainly going to upset the team fight a little bit for TSM. Best Chuck NA on this Kestrel, very mobile with the active camos, so with a good sigil placement to give him that extra movement speed, can reposition himself in such a way that Vonsi then becomes the threat for Cloud9. But the Bright Bulwark is like the icing on the cake for TSM. You know, they've already got this ginormous gold lead for themselves. 1.5 thousand in this early game is basically half a top-tier, tier 3 item. So TSM looking to really hit their power spikes early, get Vonsi that Aftershock online as soon as possible. And because I Love Joseph is playing this utility fortress jungle, he has to go towards the banner first, which already hurts his tier 3 item purchase. If he builds that into a Storm Crown as well instead of the Aftershock, then that's just going to hurt his power even more. Vonsi, though, finds 3.
Yeah, Vonsi's going to find 3. Let's see if he can make this early advantage go to work for himself. Look at the Sigil, Prime Directive, then huge damage. Joseph staying alive using that Healing Flask. Gabe Vizzle moves back as Crystal Sentry walls his way down into position in the jungle. I'd be surprised if TSM go for this, but actually, they have pretty good burst damage. They're just going to lock onto it. C9 cannot contest, and the first life on that Crystal Sentry goes down here. 4.5 minutes in, they move into the backs. TSM able to take the backhand as well. Joseph goes down to Vonsi, basic attacks. A first blood for TSM. They are just dominating this early game.
Bolt in the wound for Cloud9. TSM, after some really nice damage dealt, and with a Lyra to keep them all healthy on the Sigil, know that they can take that Sentry away uncontested, but what Cloud9 do is overstay You can still... Best Chug's okay. Fountain actually going to be used by FlashX. Very interesting, actually. FlashX going for this Fountain early. FlashX has basically created a meta on 2.9 on Lyra that you build Crucible first item always and forever. But this game he's gone for the Fountain early, and this is purely due to the fact that the dive from Cloud9, although behind in gold, is still very deadly to this Kestrel. So a Fountain for the burst kill, keep Best Chug healthy, is the reason he's gone for Fountain first rather than Crucible.
I think that makes a whole lot of sense there. Vaingory, he doesn't really care about anything. He is deep into the jungle one more time. He's looking to take the backs away from Joseph. Look at Vaingory's level 7 to Joseph's level 4 at this point. This is not a joke. These numbers are not messed up. This is 10 last hits for Joseph to 43 for Vaingory. Vaingory looking to go under the turret, misses the prime directive. Well, he catches the turret with it. He's going to be okay. He has the ultimate if they want to turn this around. Best Chug just throwing glimmer shots right down the pipe here, connecting onto C9. C9 doing everything they can to defend this turret. Vaingory moving back, nice bright bulwark, dissuading any aggression there, any potential jump coming in from C9. A sigil will heal TSM right back up, and you have to think this turret's going to go down. Oh, let's go! Rose defends it back out, almost on the pixel edge of Vaingory's prime directive there, and that's turret down. We're 6 minutes in. This is a massive lead.
This is a massacre is what it is at the moment, Humanist. TSM have taken over the early game, and if you were to consider the strengths and weaknesses of these North American teams, Cloud9's team fighting is second to none, but their early game has always been their Achilles heel. If you can abuse that early game and really get on top and force I Love Joseph or Old School to fall behind in a massive way, then you can actually turn the tides into your favor by a significant margin. TSM have done this. They've got a ridiculous 4,000 gold lead at this 6-minute mark, and it's only going to get bigger because of the fact that I Love Joseph is basically a second captain right now as far as damage is concerned. TSM can continue to team fight, and there's really nothing Cloud9 can do about it.
This is pretty crazy. I mean, from my perspective, I'm kind of seeing the advantage coming from, a lot of it coming from the early game rotations, where TSM just kind of out-rotated C9 and got a lot of resources on the map. Is there anything else standing out to you?
Just a continuous rotating. TSM haven't really allowed for Cloud9 to get a breath of air yet. Imagine if Cloud9 is in the water sinking. Cloud9, TSM just holding their heads down, not really allowing them air.
Holding their heads down the right bulwark, drowning C9 out. This is going to be the gauntlet down, and the chase is on. Attack of the Pack is live, but Vaingory stands his ground. Best Chug just stands his ground as well. That's all he can do. He cannot run from this Fortress comp, and they lost the Kestrel. Now Vaingory dropping low. Termination Protocol is going to come out. The Prime Directive doesn't put him on to the key targets here, and it looks like Vaingory might go down as well. In fact, he will, as C9 pick up 2 kills here, and a very nice fight for C9.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, Cloud9's composition, although behind, still very deadly to the Kestrel and will be for the entirety of this matchup. And if you can remove that Kestrel from a team fight, then all of a sudden you found yourself a 2 versus 3, which will favor yourself. So Cloud9's composition, still deadly even behind. And it's something that TSM do have to be wary of. You can see that they were consistently looking to try and push Cloud9 underwater continuously, try and push that second turret in, but they kind of disrespected the damage that comes out of a Black Feather and a Fortress. Fortress, of course, when he pops that Attack of the Pack, can track the Kestrel when she stealths, so it gives this extra element to Cloud9 to make sure that they have eyes on Best Chug. Best Chug didn't really attempt to escape the fight. There wasn't really an ability for him to do so with the gauntlet placement, and so TSM will have to respect what Cloud9 have to offer. However, they can continuously look to take these objectives off the map and grow their gold lead.
Well, speaking of objectives, TSM starting to light up this gold miner, and C9 move in. They're in position to contest this here. Let's see how it plays out. Now, Attack of the Pack. They can force this Kestrel back. This is nice positioning. C9, they're on the gold miner. Who's going to get it? Black Feather able to secure that for his team now. Vaingory chases forward. I think he's going to use his boots, get onto Joseph here. Look at that core charge, just smacking Joseph. Prime Directive in, a little splash damage on Crystal Sentry in the Old School. Vaingory, he's going to get that sigil. Maybe a slight miscommunication. He hesitates there. They just get the Crystal Sentry. It's going to be okay. Flash throwing the Arcane Passage. And look at that attack flying all the way back to the base. He nearly canceled that recall.
Yeah, no, but that's beautiful by Cloud9. Even if they were to get aced in that scenario, I think you would call it a win, because they were able to take that gold miner away. TSM are very much scared of what Cloud9 can offer. scared of the dive potential that comes out of this Fortress Black Feather combination. Almost too scared. Another element of this Fortress into Kestrel that makes things a little bit difficult for Best Chuck NA is, you know, if you're playing a CP Kestrel, your Glimmer Shots will have splash damage that does a hell of a lot, but on this weapon power variant, it's that first hit that really packs a punch with the crit. So when you throw that attack of the pack out, those wolves will group up onto a Kestrel, making it hard for Best Chuck NA to actually realistically do damage until he clears it out. Wouldn't be surprised if Best Chuck NA actually prioritizes some attack speed, maybe in the form of a Tornado Trigger or a Bonesaw, which would be fairly Bonesaw would be fairly standard in this build, but maybe even Tornado Trigger for the extra attack speed. Another engage.
Oh, another double ultimate combo out of C9. They smell some blood, and it's going to be Best Chuck put into the dirt. Now C9 chasing TSM back deeper into the jungle. He can't even use Termination Protocol. No, Von C's getting melted. Crystal Sentry tries to help his buddy, but Crystal Sentry is going to go down as well. Dowsy, this was... I mean, TSM were smashing C9 in this early game, and C9 completely reversed it.
You know, Best Chuck NA has a saying that no defense is the best kind of defense. You know, kind of learned it from Von C, I think, but he needs a reflex block against this Crucible, this Gauntlet. Flash X usually would have a Crucible in this scenario on Lyra and would be able to get his Kestrel out to safety, but it's not the case. Best Chuck is desperately trying to get in towards the Monocle, but now has that reflex block available for himself. Sold that flask because he recognized that it was such a priority. If Best Chuck NA goes down at the beginning of these fights, TSM unable to kite back, then TSM will lose it 90% of the time. The Best Chuck has to make sure his positioning is on point, cannot allow Gabe Vizzle to engage like this. Another Gold Miner attempt, TSM looking to contest as Cloud9 come in, but it's a team fight and it's actually Cloud9 picking it up.
Deja vu, deja vu. They walk right in. It's Old School who grabs it again. This time, Old School has Breaking Point ready to go if they're going to fight here. Von C, an aggressive jump in. Pretty easy Crystal Sentry take here. Why does C9 not defend there?
There's no need to start up a team fight after they've used their Attack of the Pack. Attack of the Pack is almost the ultimate holding it all together, and with Gabe Vizzle not having Gauntlet up either, engaging onto TSM a little bit risky because they need to be able to catch the Kestrel out of position, and they don't have a stun available to them, they don't have those wolves to cause chaos, then TSM have a slightly better chance in this team fight. TSM can't really be the aggressors, but they know that Cloud9 won't fight when they don't have these ultimates up, so they're trying to take these sentries off the map whenever possible. Now they've eliminated. You would think that TSM would move into the jungle to contest Cloud9 a little bit, but it's not really going to be the case. Now Cloud9 have their ultimates up, so they know that TSM will be actually scared of fighting them. So they move in, take a Crystal Sentry for themselves, one more life remaining. We might have a Crystal Sentry-less map in just a bit.
My goodness, it would feel so empty if that was the case, but I wouldn't be surprised. Both of these teams, some of the best out there, and of course taking objectives throughout these major matchups here, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if that happens very soon. But we're 13 minutes in. It's only 4-1 in favor of C9. Small net worth lead going to TSM, but it feels like this game has been very action-packed thus far, fighting around these cooldowns on the ultimates coming out of C9. The moment TSM step forward, I'd expect them to pull the trigger again.
You know what's something that's really interesting about I Love Joseph's build? He has himself a Dragon Blood contract, knowing that if he can get on top of TSM and his allies can land those auto attacks, that's just extra burst damage, and it's basically reserved for Best Chuck NA at this point. I Love Joseph has that Aftershock. He's also very much heavily invested into the metal jacket, knowing he can frontline some of those glimmer shots for his team, and then Old School can sub on in, as well as Gabe Vizzle to take some as well. Vanguard, such a strong ability against Kestrel, basically allows your carries to get on into the front line and tank up some of the damage with the shield. In 2.9 especially, now that Arden has more HP, that means the Vanguard has more shielding to it. And that's what's made Arden such a premier captain on this update.
Oh, it's just beast mode. I mean, we were talking during the draft, and we talked about how it would be good for TSM for certain reasons, good for C9 for certain reasons, and he just enables offense and defense so incredibly well. Dowsy, small nuance thing, I'm actually not sure about this. Do you know if Dragon Blood contract is used when Kestrel goes into stealth? Does it actually apply onto her?
Good question. I actually do not know. I guess we can keep our eyes peeled to see if it does or not.
I'm
It's
only
very
watching
obvious.
Old School. That was the player to watch. I was told by production.
We have to watch out for Old School. Sentries are eliminated. 15 minutes of the Krakens on the map. TSM had a huge early game gold lead, but right now they are playing with their legs between their tails, waiting for an engage from Cloud9 so that they can go in. They've spotted out Old School. They can isolate.
Get him! Get in there! He's locked down. The bright bulwark's down. There's nothing he can do at this point. Uh-oh. You didn't burst him down fast enough. They heal. Sustain. Look at the durability. Rose defensive forward. He's looking for this Kestrel. Best shot. Can you find the damage? There's stun on it, Joseph. He's trying to move back with the burst damage out. They've lost the Kestrel. Now TSM tried to trade it as the turret's doing a little work for them. Old School starting to drop low. Can they find the damage? No! Vonsi gets put down into the infinite reboot. That's not what you're looking for. But he's going to respawn through it. A prime directive. Oh, it's going to split the difference between Old School and Joseph. Flash trying to chase here with Von C. He's gonna go for it. Prime directive from downtown. He gets one core charge in and a pause.
Yeah, I think Gabe Vizzle may be suffering a little bit based on his positioning, but we can talk about some of the things that's happened in that team fight, hopefully, before this pause comes undone. That was a really clever play by FlashX at the beginning of it. A double bright bulwark. He just picked up Echo, and there we go. Team fight's going to continue.
Yeah, I noticed that Bright Bulwark felt like it was down forever, but such a big ability to use there, and looks like Von C able to pick up a second kill off the back of that. So the first signs of life we've seen from TSM in a little while, and this is Kraken out on the map now.
Yeah, and they're actually going to start up here at TSM. So that double Bright Bulwark, as we mentioned, Bright Bulwark is almost the key ability for TSM. A double Bright Bulwark with the Echo essentially means that Arden cannot cast any one of his abilities. Vanguard, Blood for Blood, and Gauntlet, all movement abilities, so Arden becomes entirely useless. The Fortress as well cannot jump on top of the Kestrel, can mark her for the movement speed, but can't jump on top of her for that aftershock damage. And of course, Black Feather with his 3 movement abilities won't be able to jump forward. So yeah, I'm expecting FlashX to really use that Bright Bulwark and use the Echo as well to try and lock down a team fight ground as much as possible for TSM, whilst the Kestrel attempts to blow someone up and make it advantage for them. But,
First
we'll
Bright Bulwark down here. He's going to probably wait for that cooldown to come back up so he has it ready to echo and get that double bulwark through the fight. But it's incredible how strategically just this one ability pretty much makes or breaks these fights here. C9 going to work on the Kraken. Kraken on the choke point turret. You got the gauntlet out. Reflex from Best Chuck. He moves back. The attack of the pack coming out as well. Those are the 2 big team fight abilities that C9 were winning these fights with. And it looks like TSM are ready to go. Prime directive in. Von C trying to find some damage. Turret's down. That bulwark is down defensively. Actually, Von C jumping in deeper. Is he going to get the termination protocol this time? Yeah, he's got it. But there's nothing to close the gap here. Prime directive doesn't land onto the turret, so he doesn't get the damage there either. On point. This is Old School over the top onto Best Chuck. He's able to find the kill. Uh-oh, TSM falling apart. Old School gets a Vanguard, repositions backwards. That was the target that they wanted to kill. If anything, Von C's like, I'm just trying to take one down with me. TSM are going to lose to C9. A very nice defense there.
Yeah, absolutely. Cloud9 using that gauntlet as a zoning tool so that they could take that Kraken down. The Kraken only breaks open the base mildly, doesn't quite get on to those Vein Crystal turrets. But TSM, recognizing that the gauntlet and the attack of the pack was up, figured that they might be able to find a kill. If they could find a kill, then potentially they could get those Vein Crystal turrets down. Maybe not finish the game, but get closer to doing so. They just bit off more than they could chew. They couldn't get onto any of the Cloud9 members and kill them before they were able to get the healing up. And as soon as they did get the healing up, Cloud9 were able to turn the fight around. Once more, Best Chuck was isolated. Von C in his termination protocol and blowing up the reboot meant that there was no one really to defend Best Chuck and A, and this Black Feather will be so threatening at all stages of the game to Kestrel. So Cloud9 continuing to show us that their threat is really huge for TSM, but TSM have kind of won the macro game in a huge way. They've still got all of their 5 turrets up. They haven't really felt threatened by Cloud9 on the map yet. Despite Cloud9 having the kill lead, they have not taken a single objective apart from those sentries and the gold miners, which means that Cloud9 aren't close to finishing the game, whereas TSM are one team fight from doing so.
Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy how that's worked out thus far into the game. It feels like C9, if they win a decent team fight at this point, anywhere in the middle area of the map, they can do a lot of work, probably take a couple turrets quite easily. But TSM not ready to let that happen. Best Chuck, he's 0-4 at this point, but he's having significant impact. He's got the Bonesaw and a fresh weapon infusion ready to go. Von-C jumps in onto Old School. He'll get the Vanguard from Gabe as they just reposition back up. Maybe waiting for that opportunity to jump on the Best Chuck, and there you go. That's the Vanguard down. Gabe Bizzle getting lit up. Second Vanguard. The Gauntlet's going to come down. It's trapping Best Chuck right on the inside, but he walks into the wall, and that's the burst damage coming through. They've lost the Kestrel. Gabe Bizzle dropping low. That's Von-C's target. They traded 1 for 1. Now TSM need to kite back under the turret. Bright Bulwark's down, stopping the movement abilities there. Von-C's in deep. Won't land the Termination Protocol. Old School and Joseph right back on target. Flash X trying to body block, just get on top so they couldn't target him down. He'll have to Arcane Passage back, and just look at that Feint of Heart execute damage coming through. A beautifully executed ace out of C9.
And the Kraken has just spawned, and Cloud9 will eagerly head on over to try and claim it for themselves. Best Chuck and A down for another 12 seconds, so unless a godlike snipe comes out, it should go over to Cloud9. Let's talk about Black Feather into Alpha. A soft counter, you could call it, because Black Feather's Feint of Heart, the more damage, the lower health an Alpha or any target is. When Alpha goes into her ultimate, she has 1 HP. When she goes into a Termination Protocol, she has 0 HP. That means despite Old School may not having too many heart stacks on the Alpha, he can still do a ridiculous amount of damage with his Feint of Heart.
That's a good explanation, and something we should definitely keep in mind. It's so beautiful to watch Joseph here on this Fortress, and Old School on the Black Feather. But any time they see Best Chuck's Kestrel just kind of step forward a little too far, they pull the trigger, they're right on target. It's so hard for Chuck at this point. Gauntlet actually kind of pulled short by that Bright Bulwark there. Von-C into the Termination Protocol a little bit too early. Second Gauntlet goes down. Chuck stands his ground, but body blocks by Gabe Bizzle galore here. A defensive Arcane Passage pulls TSM deeper back into their base. C9, they want some. Can they get some? They're almost on the healing platform. Oh my goodness. TSM stay alive. Help to all that region and damage coming out of their healing platform. Von-C, he's right back in with that Prime Directive. Looks like they want to go for Old School here. Interesting Bright Bulwark by Flash. Throws the Sigil forward. They're able to take Old School out. Now Joseph probably going to get chased down. He avoids the Prime Directive exactly when he needed to do. Gabe Bizzle drops into the jungle. Best Chuck will find this kill. 2 more basic attacks there. You can see it pop up. And a very clean kill coming through at the end, and that's the ace, and that should be game for TSM. What an insane match here. Game 1 just back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. TSM eventually find the team fight they need. It might not be game just yet. We do still have a bit of time on these death timers, but look at how quick that Kestrel eats through the turrets. It's going to be very unlikely the death timers come through quick enough for Cloud9. TSM knowing that they can finish, and they finish well. A close matchup, but a matchup of giants, and TSM take game 1.
Oh, TSM take game 1. And TSM trying to go to Worlds, I'm pretty sure. I think everybody knows that, but this kind of performance definitely highlights that fact, and just really nice stuff. It's